Hello there. Behold the glare of my glasses. That's amazing how you could see everything that's on my desk across from me. But anyway, I wanted to do a little video about paranormal activities. Um, Basically, just from my own experiences and the amount of growth that I had recently, which I noticed, it's been making me a bit more bored of this reality. Like, I've been pretty bored lately. So, my name is Tobias, and I grew up on the reservation near Irving, New York. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of paranormal activity that happens on a reservation. I feel like part of that is because people are more spiritually open minded to it, just because of the culture, the traditions, and the stories that get handed down from generation to generation. So when I was growing up on the reservation, I recall that the night was very spooky. And I think it happened pretty much everywhere. If I'm outside here, like we call it non-native territory. Out here on non-native territory, I don't have that spook factor. I can go for a walk and I'm fine. But on the reservation, that spook factor is there and I feel it. So, like going outside, it's like you always have the sense of being stalked. And I know the one time I went to visit my cousins, I felt like something was following me, and I told them about it. And we got to, theorizing, hey, what could it be? And there's different creatures that we believe in. I'm not super educated on what they are, but generally speaking, there are beliefs that there is a creature that follows you along the creek, and they stay in among the trees. Every time you walk down the road by the Cattaraugus Creek, you hear rustling, and it just follows you. You can't see what it is, you don't know what it is, and that's part of what makes it spooky because it's so unknown. Now, on the road to my cousin's house, I felt something following me, but it was not the same creature that would follow you down the creek. And I'm not entirely sure what it is, but let's just say the closest I could think of would be a skunk ape. For whatever reason, from what I was told by my cousin, skunk apes are more common on Indian Hill. So there's a part of the reservation that's a bit more traveled by the skunk ape. And then I talked to him. I'm like, what is a skunk ape? And he's like, well, it's like a Bigfoot. And then I'm like, yeah, but what makes it a skunk ape? So we get to talking, and he's like, is it called a skunk ape because it stinks more than a Bigfoot? And I just thought it was funny that we start thinking along those lines where it's like these things that we can't see do exist among us, and it kind of becomes like a source of intrigue. So, like, naturally, I am curious about the paranormal, but I am not somebody that wants to bring it all into this house because I've grown up, you know, being spooked. And when I was growing up on the territory, part of the things that haunted the area, they were passersby. They weren't particularly attached to the land. They were just in the area, so they would come and go. And I do feel that the majority of the things that went through the house were what people call little people. And I'm not entirely sure what they are, but I would have to visualize it. Yeah, they're small. They're small. They're humanoid. My impression is they're not people. They're like creatures, and they feel like they're a combination of being born of the earth and the human imagination. Like they exist, but if I had to describe them, it's like a combination between a troll, an elemental, and then human fear. I think that's as close as I can get. If only I could draw it. I don't want to attract any of them here because if I start drawing things, then I'm gonna end up having something pop in and run amok, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. As an artist, um, and a visionary, I can't just draw things willy nilly. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up unintentionally opening a portal to let something through, and I've done that more than once, and I just don't know how many times I've done that, but I want to get to talking about something that I've been doing the past few days. I've been taking an interest in debunkers, paranormal debunkers. Basically, it's investigators, so ghost hunters, investigators, who step into the role of being a debunker because they see that there are a lot of people online that basically conjure up stories and it's not real. It's inspired by, the interest in the paranormal, but it's not truthful. So these debunkers go in there and they basically review footage. Um, they find evidence of tampering, wire pull or overlay, or just bad video editing in general. And what is it? Through one of the debunkers, I have found a channel called the Side Eye Guy, and he was doing something on one of the episodes from the Dead Files. And I want to talk about this because I felt something like connect with me. Because I always ask myself, I'm like, is this genuine? Is this just to discredit somebody? Is it just to make people think that the paranormal is just a bunch of lies and fantasy? So I was sitting there, and anybody that's watched Dead Files know, the psychic medium that they featured, her name was Amy. And so she went to this one house and then she would do an investigation. She'll look into things and then she'll do a sketch. And basically, the formula of the video is you got another guy that's doing his own research, and then they kind of come together and they present the findings. And so they like make a show out of that. And I feel like it's very hard to prove that somebody's abilities are for real because you're not supposed to disrespect spirit. You're not supposed to use your gifts for gains. But I did get the impression that the findings, like through, the forensic sketch and the actual photograph of the person that they've, done research into, line up. And for me, it's like, it was real. It was legitimate. She didn't lie about it. She didn't make it up on the spot. They didn't give her information ahead of time just so she could draw it up and then act like she used her abilities to find it. It's like, no, she for really fell into it, read into it, found that there was a person that was unhappy. She was very unhappy and then kind of just angry at times. She's not angry all the time, but she's just unhappy. So that was the feeling I got about the woman, and too bad I don't have the video up. I could just make it easier, but basically, they photographed the woman. She had dark eyes, broad face. She had her hair tied back, and she looked pretty Like serious, like she's one of those people that are very direct, and if she doesn't like you, she came across to me as one of those people that would let you know that she doesn't like you. So basically, I made that connection thinking, yeah, that's real, that's legitimate. Like, she's not faking it. She actually came across this person that just kind of didn't like people very much. And sometimes you encounter people that don't like people. I mean, just because we pass on doesn't mean that, we're suddenly a different person. Sometimes we carry some traits over. If we didn't transcend anything, we kind of carry that over into the next level of existence. So I get to thinking, like, it really is not fair to basically live in a reality where so many people that exist here are doing things for their own gains, to just lie, to cheat, steal, to fabricate, manipulate. There's all these people that are just chasing after glamour, for whatever reason, and it's not right, because like the paranormal is real, and I just don't bring things around here, because if I start bringing things into my house, then it's just defeats the purpose of having the space protected from the outside world. There's a lot of negativity out there. Sometimes I'll get visitors, but I'm not purposely trying to bring them in here. I know that I felt it before, where I watched another video on YouTube, and it was like a mystery as to why this. There was a hiker. He kind of just was fine. Things were going to plan. He was about ready to eat. For whatever reason, he goes up a hill, or up this mountain, because it was, terrain that was more challenging if you went up too much of an incline. And for whatever reason, he like passed away up there, away from all his stuff. And so people get to wondering, it's like, what's going on there? And I asked about it. I'm like, well, what happened? And it's not for me to determine who's going to give me an answer or not. I had the answer come to me, that this gentleman, generally, he was healthy. There were no red flags about anything. Like, as far as he knew, clean bill of health. Went hiking. He has experience hiking. It wasn't like he was brand new to it. Was going to eat. Basically had to go into the woods because it was like, well, nature called. And then things went off track. For whatever reason, as I'm calling the details of it, I'm feeling it right here. But what I felt was, all of a sudden, he was worried. Like, it kind of just came on suddenly. Like, his heart, according to what I felt, was his heart just kind of started speeding up on him. And then he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know that what he was experiencing was a medical emergency. He kind of just thought, well, that's weird. Like, I feel really weird. I don't know why I feel weird. And then he kind of just started, you know, feeling like, am I being watched? Because when your heart starts going like that, you start thinking, well, wait, is there something going on? Is there something wrong? And he kind of just looked around and he thought, well, I don't know what's going on. It's weird. And I think maybe at a certain point, he started wandering, because I feel like it kind of triggered a response out of him, because it was not a feeling he was accustomed to. And he just thought, I'll go up here, I'll go up this mountain. He's like, maybe I just got to clear my head. Maybe I got to just walk it off. And then eventually he got to a point where he kind of just stopped, and then he realized something's not right. Like, he kind of gotten himself into a position where he started getting disoriented. And then on top of that, he was starting to experience fatigue because his heart was just going, and it's just like I can feel it. I can feel that he was starting to get tired, drained. He was having difficulty really addressing what's going on. And then, by the time he figured out he was having a medical emergency, he could not really get back down that, climb. He couldn't make the climb back down to his camp. Like, by the time he figured it out, he was just like, oh no, like, this is it. Like, he finally realized all too late that his heart was just doing a thing, and it was abnormal. Like, for whatever reason, his body was not not functioning like it should have been. And it almost felt like what led up to that was strenuous activity. Like, okay, he wasn't super young, and he was starting to get up there in age. And when you get older, your body doesn't bounce back like it used to. So perhaps there was something going on that he didn't notice, like a medical thing, like something changes, like your blood pressure changes, your dietary changes. There's so much that happens when you get older that the things that you used to bounce back from when you're a kid, you don't bounce back from. And especially if your diet is not clean, your body starts showing wear and tear. So his you know body was found in an odd position where it kind of just seemed like he was walking up a deer trail, but then kind of just fell over and like thump right into like a bunch of sticks and brush. So that kind of made me think, yeah, it was probably because his body just was fatigued and he couldn't keep his balance. Like, it was like he was disoriented, confused, um, having trouble, having a full breath, can't slow down his heart. He stumbled, rolled over, tumbled into this brush, and then that was it. And according to the coroner, like the autopsy report, they said that he passed from hypothermia. He passed from being too cold, his body temperature dropping too low. And that would make sense because they didn't find him until later. And he probably passed overnight. Because one, he didn't get help for his racing heart. Two, nightfall settled in, so he got cold. And that was how he passed away. Which was unfortunate, but that's what I felt. And the feeling has left me. Oh boy. What a relief it is when I get the story done and the feeling goes away. But I do keep track of these things in my book, my spiritual development. I noticed that if I'm to give a message to somebody, I'm beginning to see images. I saw cards being thrown on the table. I saw a match being struck and on fire, like, well, lit, not on fire, but somebody dropping a match. I saw like a wave, but then I felt relief from that wave. So it was like somebody having to address, these concerns that they had feelings about, but then would find relief ultimately through looking through all the things. And it's like initially it felt like, yeah, it's overwhelming, but then there's calm after that. And let's see. Yeah, and driving on the road, I had this very strong inclination that something bad happened. I try to pay attention to the signs. Somebody mentioned funeral. Somebody mentioned that somebody passed recently. Then a community member had a sister pass away. And I did have the vision of her, and I thought, okay, so it wasn't like I was supposed to give a message because I wasn't being directed to do so, but to basically observe what's going on and to feel into things and get used to my abilities and how they work, because it gets confusing. Um, so many people just think, oh, if you have psychic abilities, you should just be able to find something out and just know what's going on. And it's like, it's a lot like a puzzle. Like, spirit doesn't give you all the information all at once. It's like they give you what's important, and you have to like let them determine where you're going. And it could be kind of challenging because like I'm trying to get used to how my experiences, during these things work out. I had I had a dream recently where I had a big truck, a Freightliner, white, probably the Cascadia, because that's what I drove when I was working in the industry for like a very short time. And for whatever reason, I had somebody else's vehicle inside my vehicle, except that one, it was like a little, like a boxy, like cart of some sort. It was very boxy, and it had a flat front, and then it would have like little handles behind the top. And you would sit on it, and it would just be like this real squat thing that kind of just rides around. And it was like a personal vehicle that you would use to just go from one point to the next, but not long distances. So kind of like a moped, but very squat. For whatever reason, it kept turning on and rolling out of the console port that was somehow in, the middle of the cab. And then I noticed that it had a golden key in there. I took the key out, knew who the key belonged to, so then it makes me wonder, what does it mean? Because, like, okay, for me, I've identified it as the key of David. And for what I'm doing, for what I've done for myself, was I basically unlocked, you know, a door with the help of the Lord. A door was unlocked and I reached illumination. My friend Alora actually gave me this like tree of life with a golden key on there. So basically, to in order to have God's spirit around you, you got to unlock Metatron. Have it be illuminated. Whereas if it's not illuminated, he can't just wash you in his energy. So it makes me think that this person that I had a dream about is meant to be on my path. Because I also did a card reading, and it seems like it's a long-term relationship where they're with me, and there is a chance for them to basically have their own illumination happening because I got the key. Like, okay, after I got the key, then I became, blessed by God's presence. Then, so this friend of mine, I, I have a key to him. So in the future, he's going to be blessed by God's presence. And I'm still learning how my gifts work. So I still have time to develop, learn, and grow. My friend offers this amazing course, like if anybody really wants to become enlightened and to be able to understand themselves so much that they could look from deep into the past and see all the patterns. Like, Laura does this course called Tantra, and that's basically what you need to reach illumination, because you bring your duality, you merge it together, you make it as one, and you basically open up the channel from beauty all the way to the crown, beauty, the heart, to the crown, and that's where you just have that golden level of consciousness. And I did it with the Lord's help because financially I'm pretty broke. Oh boy. But hey, it's not bad. Being broke's not bad. It does cause some difficulties here and there, but hopefully I'll get my finances up and worked out. I painted some minis, started finishing them up, but I thought I just wanted to post a video about paranormal activities because, hey, you know, if you really, believe, you know, don't let anybody tell you that it's not real because it is. But be discerning. Don't just believe everything you look at online. Bam. Bye. I suppose that's the end of the video.